sent your word and you healed my disease.
Go on, Ben.
You are the Lord, my healer.
Completa, tá?
And you healed my disease. You and healed me. I am the Lord, your healer. And I send my word and I heal your disease. I am the Lord, your healer. This is his word. I am the God that healeth thee. I am the Lord, your healer. I send my word and I heal your disease. I am the Lord, your healer. You sent your word and you healed my disease. You are the Lord, my healer. Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Nature's Way program here on Waves 96.3 FM. 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 31 says, "Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God." I'm so happy to be here this evening, sharing in this wonderful program with Nebert, my producer and partner. Yes, so we are happy to be here with you. Welcome, Nebert.
Thank you, thank you,
Sure, sharing
thank you.
with me
Good
this
afternoon, and happy to be here with you to share in this program.
evening. Yes. So we are going to go into a very interesting study.
Yes,
And let me just share with my listeners and viewers that this topic, well, I started this topic the last time we were here, but this topic is Nebert's favorite.
yes,
He goes wild with this topic. We're looking at herbs, and it is very important, especially at this time in Earth's history,
yes,
where a myriad of amount of persons are getting sick.
right,
And we just want to ensure, we just want to share, we just want to um, give you the information so that you can know what to do when you get ill.
that's right,
Right?
that's right.
Yes. So before we go into our discussion, we are going to be praying. We are going to pray and ask the Lord's guidance as we go through this discussion this evening. Let us
Yes,
pray. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for your mercies towards us. We're grateful for all that you do on our behalf. We are grateful for the information that you have given to us and the provisions that you have made for us. Lord, you are our creator, redeemer, and friend, and you are Dr. God. And you have given us the remedies that we are to use in order to the herbs that we are to use in order to be healthy. And if we get sick, you have given us the remedies to use in order to get better. We thank you, dear Lord. You love us with an unconditional love. And because of this, we are so grateful. Please touch everything in studio this afternoon so that it may work to its optimal. And be with your listeners and viewers. Be with us as we navigate through these information to share with your people. Bless us now, we pray, as we say thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
amen, amen.
And just to remind our listeners and viewers that we are not medical practitioners,
That's right.
right? So whatever information we share here with you is informative in nature and is not intended to serve as diagnosis, treatment, or prevention or cure for any specific health conditions of our listeners and viewers. We give no guarantee of nor assume any liability for any outcome for the use of this information. Here at Nature's Way, we simply share because we care. And the information that is given is general information. We are not the only ones who know this information. We're not the only ones who can know this information. You can also know it by doing your own research as well and living it. We have been sharing things that have worked for us, and so we have testimonials that these things work. God has given us these remedies, these herbs, and all of these things so that we can be healthy. And this is why we share with you, because we know that some persons may be busy and don't have the time to really spend the time to do the research.
Yes.
But we want to share the information with you right at your fingertips.
That's
You
right.
can go back and watch this program on YouTube if you like. And please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe, like, and share in that order. Yes. And make sure you hit the notification bell so that you will not miss a beat. All right. And to the link for this program is at the sign at Nature's Way, 889989, right, 9989. I have a transposition problem. 9989. So
Yes.
it's at Nature's Way,
Right.
9989. All
That's
right.
right.
So that's the link for this program.
Mhm.
And we are here every Sunday to 4 to 6 p.m. So you can subscribe and you will never miss a beat. All right. So we are going to be looking at herbs, Nebert, as we said, and
That's
we're
right,
going to
Debbie.
be looking at how we gather the herbs.
Right.
Now we went through this before, but we
Yes.
just want, for those persons who are just joining or just hearing, we want to ensure that you have the information. All right. So we want to ensure that you have the information and you can use the information. You can take notes if you like, so that you will not miss out on anything, and you can have the information at your fingertips. All right. Okay. So how do we gather herbs, and what part of the herbs together? All right, so we are going to be sharing with you how it is gathered, and then you can get the information. All right, so gathering herbs. Now you are to collect the herbs in clear, dry weather in the morning after the dew has disappeared. All right, all right, so the leaves, you can gather the leaves as soon as they are fully matured, or just before the flowers appear, just before they fade, or at the maturing of the fruit for those plants that bear fruit, or at the maturing of the fruit, right? So you can, that's for the leaves. Now for the stems, you can cut the hibiscus stems after the foliage appears, but before the blossoms develop.
Yes.
All right. So you cut the ligneous, or the woody part, which is the stems, in the autumn after the foliage falls. All right. So for the stalks, you can collect the stalks in the autumn. The twigs you can also collect in the autumn. And for the bulbs, gather them after the new bulb is developed, or just before the leaves decay.
Yes. And that's for the harvesting of herbs.
Yes.
Right. But what we have found is that in Jamaica,
Mhm.
we basically have we just have one climate.
Yes, yes.
Even though we know spring, summer, autumn, winter, in Jamaica we basically have just
It's always
um,
tropical.
it's all it's tropical,
Mhm.
and so usually when we are harvesting herbs, we harvest some of them on the depending on the moon. So
Yes.
some dark night and some moonshine. So usually the bulk of the herbs we harvest on dark night. But when we harvest on dark night, it depends on the type of herb that we are using, because there are some of them that can also be harvested when it is moonshine,
Mhm.
so to speak.
Mhm.
And so it depends on the herb that you're looking at.
Mhm.
We harvest them in this way because we look at the breeding pattern of the insects,
Insects.
because there are some insects that will lay their eggs in the dark night and or in the moonshine, and some will hatch. The eggs will hatch in the moonshine or in the dark night, right?
Mhm.
So you know the breeding pattern,
Mhm.
and so usually you watch that, and so it will tell you when. For example, bamboo or any type of hollow herbs that are in that inside hollow, you
Mhm.
would not harvest those on the moonshine. You would harvest those on the dark night, because for those the insects would lay the
The
eggs
eggs. Mhm.
in the moonshine, and then the eggs will hatch in the dark night. And so this is why when you harvest things like bamboo or hollowed herbs, you notice that when they dry, they shell out, because the insects will eat the insides of the plants or the
Mhm.
herbs,
Mhm.
and then when it is dry, it becomes shelly. You can't really use it. And so in Jamaica, it's just dark night and moonshine, because it's basically one type of climate.
Mhm. So gathering or harvesting herbs, then it's depending on your geographical location.
Exactly,
Yes,
exactly, yes.
and the customs and so on.
But
So
general, but you are given the right
general,
information,
yeah,
which
man.
is general.
Yes,
Yes,
but remember now that because of your geographical location, you have to do the research
that's
before
right.
you do that.
That's
Because
right.
but anything that we set out to do,
Yes,
we have to make sure we have the correct information
that's
so
right.
that we can do what we are doing correctly. All right,
Exactly so.
because it makes no sense if you gather it, you're going to end up with spoilage. You're going
Exactly.
to have to just throw them out. It has
Exactly.
no good for you or
Yes,
for your health. So that is very, very, very important.
that
And
is
this is
right.
one of the reasons we spend some time on it because
Hmm.
it is important.
That is true.
Yes. It makes no sense we run into it and we don't have the information. So we
Yes,
need to ensure that we have the information. And if you don't have it, have somebody who knows. Right?
and there's always somebody who knows.
Always somebody who
Always
knows.
somebody who knows.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right. So also the rhizomes and roots.
Hmm.
Now, this now gather the roots of annual plants just before they flower,
Yeah.
gather the roots of biennial plants soon after the leaves have fallen in the autumn of the first year.
Hmm.
Gather the roots of perennials in the autumn after the leaves and flowers have fallen, or in the springtime before vegetation begins. And even though we are tropical all the time, well, this around about this time of the year is the springtime.
Yes,
Yes, so
yes,
mhm,
yes. That's true.
yeah,
Remember the rhizome.
mhm,
The rhizome is the section of the plant that is immediately below the earth.
below the earth.
Right.
Yes,
And
yes.
so it is that fat section
Mhm,
of
yeah,
the plant that is below the earth, where
right,
all of the small roots
right,
um, emanates from there.
yeah.
And so the small roots would take the food from the soil
Mhm,
and bring it to this area. So it is always fat. And
yes.
it is that area where the food is stored.
Stored.
So
Mhm,
the food is stored there for distribution throughout
mhm.
the rest of the plant. And so that area is actually very rich
Rich.
in nutrients.
Mhm,
So that is the rhizome. Now the roots also are useful. And so you notice, because some persons just also call the rhizome roots.
They call everything
right, they call
the
everything
herb
below the earth
root.
root.
Hmm.
But there are sections
Yeah.
that are more nutritious than others. And the rhizome is the most nutritious part under the earth.
Yes.
Yes,
So hence the association, rhizomes and roots.
that's
And
right.
most times when you are doing your research, you will see these words together
Yes,
because the two things are
yes.
close
So
together.
in Jamaica, the harvesting of the rhizome is very popular
Mhm.
because in Jamaica we are used to doing persons are used to doing what we call roots drink. And so when we do roots,
Yes,
it is usually the rhizome
part of the
that
food,
exactly the part that is the
nutrient.
part that we are referring to.
Yes.
So when you harvest that section,
Mhm.
most of the time they will take away the smaller roots so that you only have that section. Or sometimes they just let the smaller roots remain, just wash it and use the thing. But usually you take away that those root is strongly part.
Mhm. Right. So the barks, as I said, you gather in the spring before the
Yes,
flowering,
that's right.
and the flowers you
Mhm.
gather when they are about to open from the bud.
Mhm.
And if the if it is the buds that you want, though, you gather the buds when they are nicely formed. All
Yes.
right. So before the flower opens. So berries, fruits, and seeds, you gather them when they are fully mature and ripe. Aromatic plants like peppermint, spearmint, and pennyroyal, etc., are best gathered after the flowers are formed and nearly ready to open. So gather them in dry weather. All right. All right. And then we're going to look at drying the herbs now,
Mhm.
Nebert. All right. So how to dry herbs, and persons have their methods.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, persons have their
yes.
methods, but generally,
Right.
we how to dry them. So
Mhm.
the various herbs materials,
Yeah.
you are to dry them in a, make sure that wherever we are drying them, it's clean. So we
Yes.
dry them in a clean room,
Mm.
which has no dust, or away from the sunlight, because we don't want the herbs in the sunlight for too long,
Right.
and where it is not too hot or
Mhm.
not too cold. We
Right.
don't want too much humidity and we don't want too much moisture.
That's right.
Do not dry them too fast. Yes, so we're not going to use those machinery to help us to dry them.
Right.
We're going to allow them to dry naturally.
On their own,
Yes,
yes.
on their own. Right.
Mhm.
So we need to guard them from mold as well,
Yeah,
and ensure that you know they don't get moldy, because then we have to throw them away.
that's right.
So, in order to protect them from becoming moldy, turn them occasionally, right?
Hmm.
So no mold will be able to form,
Hmm.
or hang the herbs so that air can pass through them, so they dry equally right throughout. All right.
Yeah.
So let me just say good evening to our viewers
Yes.
on YouTube. Sashina Barton.
Yeah.
Good day, Blessed Oak families.
Byfield, yes.
Yes, Sister Byfield. Yes. Blessed
Maxwell
special.
Vincent. It's
Yes.
good to have you
Good to
on,
have
Maxwell
you.
Vincent.
Yeah.
It's good to have you on as we discuss health, and we are looking at herbs. The how to harvest the herbs.
Mhm.
And I am sure you would have seen your grandparent or your parent
Mhm.
harvest herbs
Mhm.
sometimes, and um, so you're just talking about the moles,
Mhm.
and when they harvest them, sometimes they hang them in the
In
kitchen
the kitchen,
or they hang them
yes.
someplace.
Yes.
Sometimes these persons had outside kitchens, and so they hang them
Mhm.
um, in the kitchen. And when they hang them, they usually hang them upside down.
Right.
And there is a reason for that. But
Mhm.
they hang them in a way that they can be properly aired
Mhm.
so that, that no section of them is so attached to any area that the
Area.
mold can
Right.
grow. And
Right.
so when you hang them, it is better for certain type of herbs that way.
Mhm. Mhm. And
Yes.
so the air pass
The
through
air pass
equally
through. Right.
through them. Good
Right.
evening, Terry. Nice to
Yes.
see you and
Leave it.
welcome. Yes, so for, as we said, to guard them from mold, is
Right.
the hanging is the best method.
Yes.
All right, so they can dry equally throughout. So the leaves now, we can, for the aromatic leaves, we dry these in the shade.
Right.
Then place in the sun for a short while to prevent fungus from gathering. Unscented leaves may be dried in the sunlight, but it is best to dry them in an airy, dry place.
Right.
Yeah. And for the flowers now, so the strength of the flowers can be judged by the intensity of its color.
Right.
So dry flowers carefully. We have to ensure that we do that carefully. But um, in order to preserve the color. All right. Give special care to the flowers which have um, volatile oils. Spread the flowers loosely on white paper.
Right.
All right. And then some can be also be dried in loose bunches and hung, just like we said first, with a string from a rafter or so on in an airy room.
Yeah.
Dry the flowers only in the shade, but
Yes.
place them in the sun for a brief time to prevent the fungus from growing on them.
Right.
But you don't want to keep them in the sun too long
No.
for them to burn. You know, the sun burn out the color.
Yeah, and there's another reason for not putting them in the
The
sun,
sun.
because when herbs are in the sun, they want to produce photosynthesis,
Yes.
which is the food,
Yes.
that color that it has. And so you take them out of the sun, you put them in the shade, and because you want to ensure that the plant does not lose any of its nutrients,
Yes.
because since it is not connected by root to the soil,
Right.
then the herb will want to go through that process, but it has been detached.
Right.
So because it has been detached, then it if it goes through that process, the nutrients will escape. And one of the reasons as was explained earlier, you put it in the sun occasionally, but not for long. The only reason you do that is because you want to get rid of the bacteria, because you know the sunlight is the best way to get rid of bacteria, but you don't keep it there for long because you don't want to lose any of the, those herbs that smell nice. Like you don't want to lose any of, right, the aromatic herbs. You don't want to use any of that. And sometimes when you are using them for later on, when they use them to make herbal teas and so on, the aroma
You
is,
want that
you want that
aroma.
aroma,
Yes.
right?
And you don't want the sun to take
And
all that away.
you don't want to lose that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
initially when I started talking about that, what came to mind, somebody might ask, so how is it that they are in the sun? They grow in the sun, yes, because they are rooted.
Yes, they are connected to
They
the
are
root, right?
connected to the root, so
Yes.
they won't be damaged
Right.
at that time.
So once they are detached from the root or from the main plant, then you cannot now put them in because you see, plants are like human beings in that respect, in that it is habit. It works according to what we would call habits, and so it is used to making food in a certain way. Now the plant does not know that it has been detached. Right, so because the plant does not know that as yet, then when it is in the sun and it begins now to make nutrients, because it is the sun that gives it the strength that causes it basically to make the nutrient, then it will start to go through the process. But when it goes through the process, one of the things you will find is that the nutrients will escape, because if you notice in the plants, the food is traveling up and down, the veins are going up and down, so some going up, some going down. So when it's going down, because it is detached, yeah, it will escape out of the plant and you will lose that. Yes, Ron, it's good to have you on.
Yes. So so plants and tops,
Yeah.
if the plants are not too juicy, they may be strung in bunches across the top of an airy, dry room. And
Yes.
you see how many times we are repeating
Yes.
airy, dry room.
Airy, dry room is so
Airy,
important.
because mold and fungus and
Right.
so on are dangerous for us.
Yes.
And if we use these herbs, they won't heal us, they'll get
Right.
us sick.
Right.
All right, so we don't want none of those gatherings on
Right.
the herbs.
Because remember, if you are in a moldy room,
Mm-hmm.
it is your 99%. There's a 99% chance that you'll have cancer.
Yes.
And cancer of the lung,
Yeah.
cancer of the stomach, and so on. Any cancer of anywhere along the breathing tract, anywhere
And
you
that's when
breathe,
it's
and so on.
outside of your body.
Right.
Can you imagine
And
putting
so,
it in?
exactly.
Yes.
So you want to protect against that as much as possible.
As much as
And so the
possible.
the process of drying is so very important.
Right. And for the pulps now, you're going to peel off the outer membranes.
Yes.
Then cut the pulps into transverse, straight across
Yes.
slices, and each about maybe a half inch in length. And then you're going to stir them ever so often. So you
Right.
keep moving them around. So because again, no
Yes.
molds, no fungus. We
That's
don't
right.
want those things to form.
Exactly.
So the barks and the twigs and the woods now, you're going to
Mm.
dry in the sunlight, all right,
Mm.
or in thin layers. You put them in thin layers in the open air if you don't
Mm.
have a lot of sunlight. Do not dry wild cherry bark in the sun. So this is a word of caution. So wild cherry bark is not to be dried in the sun. So you're going to want to put this just in
In the
open
shade.
air
Yeah,
in
but
the
in the shade,
shade.
yes.
Right.
The cherry bark and cherry cousins.
Yes.
So whatever. Wild cherry in Jamaica. Once you go in the woods, you will notice that there are some herbs that are bearing, and it looks like the cherry. So it's what we call it wild
Cherry
cherry.
family.
Yeah, cherry family.
Yes. So for the fleshy roots and rhizomes now, as you did with the bulbs, um, you are going to cut them in transverse slices,
Mhm.
lengthwise, about
Yes.
half inch in length, and then
Yes.
you're going to stir and move them several
Right.
times during the drying process
Yes.
in order not to accumulate mold
Yes.
or fungus as well.
Yes.
And the fibrous roots now, you're going
Yes.
to dry these in the sunlight,
Mhm.
all right?
Yeah.
And remember, we said it is best that we allow these things to dry naturally in their
Yes.
own time. Don't
Right.
rush it. Don't use
Yes.
those artificial temperatures and so on to dry them.
Yes.
All right. Use the air that God gives us.
Right.
Yes, we might get the argument that the air is polluted and what have you, but God is merciful.
And you said something about the herbs, the how to dry the barks.
Mhm.
It is important. For example, one of the popular barks that we use is probably is Pawdiaco,
Cardiaco.
right?
Mhm.
And so when you are harvesting that, you harvest it along. You not harvest it across,
Mhm.
right? You not
Mhm.
harvest it horizontally, but you harvest it vertically,
Vertically.
right? And so you try not to let it be long.
Mhm.
You try for it to be as short as possible. And so how the vein runs on the tree, you try to harvest it along that path.
Along the,
All right. So you're harvesting how the veins run.
and then you cut it like that as well.
Right.
So that in
And
thin
in
strips.
thin strips.
Mhm.
And because it is important to do
Right.
that. Yes.
Okay.
To retain the medicine in it.
Right. So we're going to be
Nutrients.
looking at how we store them now,
Right.
because that is also important.
Yes.
Because how we store them determines whether or not they gather mold and
Yes.
fungus,
Yes.
and how long they last as well.
It's true.
So once the herbs are dry, and we have to ensure that they are properly dry.
Always.
Yes.
Always.
Once the herbs are dry, and
Mhm.
as long as they remain in a dry place, they should be good for quite some time. So it is generally best to store the herbs in paper sacks in a cool, dry area. Now, the fruits and berries, of course, these would have to be jarred or dried,
Mhm.
right? And make sure that they are dried properly. They are all blessings from God, yes. And we want to take care of this blessing so that we can be blessed from them. It is important that you store your herbs properly for longest shelf life.
Yeah.
All right? It is very important. Um, and an alternative to storing them in brown paper sacks is to place them in a tight container, and a container not
Glass.
made of plastic.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
This contains formaldehyde, and we all know what
Right.
formaldehyde is used
Right.
for.
Yeah.
All right, so no plastic containers
Right.
because we want to preserve the potency of the
Yes. The
plants and the
authenticity and
herb
potency.
and right of the
Yes.
herbs, and we don't want to
Yes.
contaminate them.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
so this is why I put them in paper sacks. Paper.
Yes, yes.
Because the paper is made of wood.
Yes, not
So
yes,
paper. Paper
not
sacks.
plastic
And
bags,
not
not
plastic.
plastic
Yeah. Not
containers,
plastic. Just
nothing
only paper.
plastic.
Yeah.
So those glass
Yes.
jars
Yeah.
and paper,
Yes.
paper,
The glass, but you put them in the glass jar once they are properly
properly
dried.
dried. Yes,
Properly
because
dried.
they'll develop mold
Right.
and
They'll
fungus.
sweat. So you
Right,
don't want them to sweat.
right.
Yes.
And we can open them ever so
Of
often too,
course.
so that so this is why, listeners, viewers, it is important that they are dry, properly dry,
Yes.
no moisture at all.
Mhm.
All right, and we need to be patient and use the natural remedy
Right.
of drying
Yeah.
them. All right, so the container can be waxed carton if it
Mhm.
is given a wax seal,
Mhm.
but glass bottles are best.
Right.
All right, unless you are able to seal a can, you can also use a can,
Yes.
but remember it has to be dried
Right.
properly. All right, so never store anything in aluminum
Mhm.
or plastic.
Yes.
So those two are harmful to our bodies.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense we take the herbs when they are stored like that because they are
Mhm.
not good for our bodies.
And so you see why it is good to know some of the herbs yourself.
Yes.
Because sometimes when you go to buy them,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know the process of drying that was used.
And you don't even know how they were harvested in
Right.
the first place.
And many times when you go to purchase them, you notice
Mhm.
that it is in the plastic containers that they have been sold.
Mhm.
And so you that is a danger sign
Yeah,
of
because
purchasing herbs.
plastic is cheaper, so
Yes.
persons may go for the plastic, but it is more harmful. It does more harm than good.
Yes.
All right, so when you're storing now, it is important that the herbs are labeled
Mm.
so you know what it is that you
Mhm.
have stored, when you started storing it, so it has to be dated, and it has to be well organized in your herbal cabinet or your medicine chest.
Mhm.
All right,
Yes.
so if the particular herb will not be used within a year, then you can fill the jar to the top, make
Yeah.
sure no air gets in,
Yeah.
right, or to crowd out the oxygen, and then
Right.
seal it with wax. So if you're not going to use, if you're going to store that, and then the ones that you're going to use now, you can, you don't have to go that far to seal it because you're going to be using it shortly. Now, herbal oils must be stored in brown bottles, sealed tightly and kept out of the sun and extreme heat. And most times, when we are doing oils, when we are doing infusion and so on, we normally are told put it in the dark bottles and put
Right.
it in a dark place,
Exactly.
right? So it works better, and
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, and the things come out in that kind of atmosphere.
Right.
So that is why we are told to do it that way.
Yes.
Now, powdered forms of herbs will keep up to a year or more, and they will retain fairly good potency, the full potency,
Mhm.
when stored in a fairly cool place.
Right.
Powdered herbs generally do not need refrigeration.
Mhm.
Yes. At room temperature, they will keep up to 6 months. Right. So if you're not going to use it within the 6 months, then you can refrigerate it. Right. Because for example, I have a perfect example. The spirulina.
Yeah.
No, the powdered form of spirulina.
Yeah.
So um under 6 months you can keep it out of the refrigerator, but once you have it, because you don't really use it that often, you have to ensure that you put it in the
Yes.
refrigerator so that it can keep its full potency, and that when you use it, it will have the effect it should have
Right.
on your body,
That's right.
and it won't become moldy
Right.
and full of fungus. I
Right.
don't know if you have ever um had some powdered herbs before, and uh, after a while, having them for over a year or so, you see it getting white inside and clumpy.
Mm.
Yes, so
Yes.
that it is getting
Yes.
moldy because
Yes.
of the storage
And it yes, and it happens a lot of time when people put them in
in
plastic
plastic.
because
Yes,
it sweat.
right,
Your plastic sweat and become clumpy.
right.
And so this is why it is recommended that you put them in paper,
Mhm.
where they will remain dry and not sweat.
Right.
Because once it goes in plastic, it becomes sweaty. And as was said before, plastics many times are made up of formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is one of the nutrients.
Mhm.
And so once it becomes clumpy and wet, and it merges with the plastic. And so what you are having is not just the herb and the fungus, you're also having formaldehyde and
Formaldehyde.
all of the other stuff that they
Mhm.
use to make plastic.
Yes.
Right? And so this is why glass jar or paper is important.
Mhm. So it is very important, and it is um, it is also important because even when we are storing it in our medicine cabinets or
Mhm.
cabinets, or even the herbs that you may eat in your pantry and so on,
Mhm.
it is good to move them around
Right,
sometimes. Move them
right.
around, check on them. And as
Mhm.
even though we are putting them aside,
Mhm.
not to be used for a while,
Yes,
but make sure that you move them around. You
yes,
understand? Because when things sit in one position for too long, you might have buildups and so on. And
yes.
then this area might get a little bit too warm, so you
Mhm.
put them in a cooler area
Right.
and so on. So you move them around,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
Right.
It is work,
Yes.
and you have to be prepared to do the work. But it is not
Yes,
hard
it is.
work.
It is.
But it is work.
Mhm.
It is work. It's not hard work, but smart work as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
because you want to get the best out of the herbs.
But with everything, because
Yes,
you're at home and you
right.
clean on the weekends, you
Yes,
dust and you shift around the
yes,
furniture. So
yes,
it's the same thing,
yes.
listeners, viewers. So we have to do that. And we
Right.
are talking about our health,
That's right.
and to prevent us from spending money that we don't have.
Hmm.
We need to do these things in order to keep ourselves healthy.
That is all right.
Yes, so we need to spend the time to do it
Exactly
instead of
so.
spending the money to get better.
Yes. All right. We are now going to look at the preparation of herbs,
Mhm.
how you prepare them. There are certain general rules
Mhm.
on how to prepare them. So we are going to be looking at some of them now and giving you some of these rules of how to get the best out of your herbs. All right, in the preparation process. All right. So we're looking at infusion or steeping. Right, infusion and steeping. So it's generally 1 pint boiling water is poured over 1 ounce of dry herbs. So it says 1 pint boiling water is poured over 1 ounce of dried herbs. So this is why sometimes we tell you that you need um, a teaspoon or a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons, as and so on. But generally, when you're looking at the dried herb, the dried herbs are stronger than if you were to use the green ones. And so it's 1 pint boiling water is poured over 1 ounce dried herbs. So cover it with a tight fitting lid. When steeping, cover it with a tight fitting lid after you have done that, so the steam will not escape. The steam helps to help in steeping process. Let it stand or steep for 20 minutes in the refrigerator, a short time till use. Is the average the average dose is 1 teaspoon is
Mm-hmm.
1 teaspoon
Mm-hmm.
of the herb per teacup. All right, 1 teaspoon of the herb per teacup, and take 3 times a day.
And it's
Three
not
times a
those
day.
big mug,
No,
and
no.
it's
Yeah,
specific
it is.
those little
Yes,
teacups.
teacups. Little teacups.
Yes,
All right. Exactly, because it's not. We are used to big
big
cups.
cups.
If it is big cups, then you have to do a little bit more.
More
All right.
exactly. Yes.
Because we are born into a culture where we have big cups.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then you take it 3 times daily. The infusion is used when the volatile oils in herbs are needed, as in peppermint and spearmint, or when the herb is composed of flowers or leaves. And so, for example, there is a herb that is called balsam. Balsam. It smells very nice. Smells very, very nice. And so when you have dried it and you want to, you can steep it. And but you want to retain the smell and strength. And so you once you steep it, you cover it, and then it is, as we said, teaspoon, 1 teaspoon to 1 teacup. All right. If you are going bigger, if you have a bigger thing than a teacup, if for example if it's 2 or 3 teacups, then it is 3 teaspoons. All right. If it, and so on and so forth. So you do it, but the basic thing is 1 teaspoon to one of the teacups. All right.
And it is important, because a lot of time our culture again is
Mhm.
that because the thing is good for us, or we using it for medication, we want to
Yes.
do more. We want to
Of
just
course.
pour it in. But
Yes.
the measurement is very
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Measurement is important.
Measurement is so very
It is what
important.
your body is
Yes.
able to use.
Yes.
Yes.
No, the only difference would be that if you are ill, and so you look at the stage of the illness that the person is
Intensity of
in,
the illness.
and
Yes.
so you know whether or not you are going to use 2 teaspoons to one cup to 1 teacup and so on. So one of the things you have to do is to know the stage illness that the person is at, so that you can make the adjustments to it. Right? And a sun tea is made in this way. Put 1 ounce of dry herb and a pint of water into a large jar. Place this in the sun for 2 to 4 hours, and the heat from the sun will extract the herb into the liquid. Now, the most basic thing is that you want the herb to be in the liquid, right? So so this is why you put the water in, because you want the what is in the herb to be transferred. If it is a green herb that you're doing, you want the greenness to be in the water. So you would do it this kind of way to for the transfer. Yes. And so for sun tea, now this is important because there are some persons who say they will prefer to use the sun to make their tea,
Yes.
instead of putting it on the on the
fire.
stove top. So for sun tea is made in this way. Put 1 ounce of dried herb and a pint of water into a large glass jar and place in the sun for 2 to 4 hours. And the heat from the sun will extract the herb into the liquid. That is what you really want. And this is why, too, when you're putting it to dry, you ensure that you dry it on a dry surface and not on any surface that has water as well. Because when it does this, when it does that, then you will notice you you will know when it is on a wet area, you notice that the wet area has the color of the herbs, but you want the color of the herbs to be in the the
The water.
the water of the tea that you're drinking, and not on the surface that you're drying it on.
Because then you're pulling all of that from
Right.
it, and it has
Right.
taking away all the nutrient that you're not going to drink.
Right. Welcome, Melissa and Marlon Brown. Good to have you.
Yes, welcome.
One of the things that has happened to me already is that sometimes I'm harvesting herbs, and you leave it on an area and you don't even remember that you put it on an area.
Yes.
And then the rain start falling, and then the herb is there, and then about a day or two after you go, and when you go and you find it, you notice that the herb, that the area that the rain fell on the herb has changed to the color of the herb.
All of that goodness
So
is
all of
gone.
that goodness is gone in it, but it
Yes.
cannot be used again.
Yes.
So this is why I say when you go to buy them, you have to ensure that it is from a credible source, that you don't go and buy herbs that is not good, so to speak. You have to know this. All right. Right. So it's just only about infusion. So let us now look at decoction now. Decoction is boiling. Infusion is steeping, or we call it in Jamaica drawing. All right. Now let us look at decoction now, which is to boil it. Now to boil it, you place 1 ounce of dry herb or 2 ounces of fresh herb in 1.5 pints of cold water. Boil for 20 to 30 minutes or longer if the roots are very hard. Strain off the clear liquid, and here, so you strain off the clear liquid. Now, once you are boiling, you put it in the water when the water is not hot. All right. So the water and the herb will get hot together. All right. You don't put it in when it is already hot because you are boiling now. All right. Now here's an alternative method, which requires more time. So you take 1 ounce of dry herb to 2 ounces of fresh herb. All right, and you pulverize it for best result. That is, you put it in something like a mortar, and you beat it. All right, and so you pulverize it for best result. Soak for 3 to 12 hours. All right, so you soak it for 3 to 12 hours in 1.5 pints of cool water. All right, then simmer in warm water for 30 minutes. Strain liquid into a clean container. Allow to settle and cool slightly. Drink liquid while still warm.
Warm and not hot.
Warm, not hot. Warm. All right, the average dose is 1 teaspoon to 1 ounce of water. Take 3 times a day. In order to extract the deeper healing qualities of the stems, roots, and bark, the herbs must be simmered for 15 to 25 minutes. Many times it is left uncovered during the simmering to evaporate some of the water. All right, so that is the main reason why you left it uncovered, to evaporate some of the water. Um, so this process, the longer process, is used mainly for some persons who have certain type of disease, and so you want to ensure that they get the best out of the herb. And so sometimes you use the dry herbs and the green herb, you put it together and you pulverize it.
And sometimes you have to do it overnight.
Right.
You're going to start the healing process
Exactly.
for the next day.
Exactly.
You do it overnight.
Exactly.
So that you get the best out of it.
Right. And so this is not for everybody, but this is for some persons. So you must have to make a determination of why you're using it, because remember, the Psalm 104 and the verse 14 says the herbs are for the service of mankind, and Revelation 22:2 says it is for the healing of the nation. And so if you want healing to occur, you have to kind of know how to do the application so that the person can actually have healing, right? Because that is the main reason you're doing it, right? To have healing. And you use herbs if you are looking for healing. You're assisting your body in getting you well, right? Because herbs assist your body in getting you very well. Um, so then infusion and decoction require a brief period of time for their preparation, and both must be used before the sour or growth of the undesirable material starts. And this starts between 34 to 72 hours. And so you use it before it starts to get sour. Because remember, you usually don't use any preservatives or any additives. No. We do it fresh. But there are times when you might use a little bit of a herb. In Jamaica, we call it chew stick. Choose a little piece of chew stick. You might add to it, or you might add a little piece of pepper elder to it, because you want to preserve it a little bit more. So you don't want to refrigerate it, and you don't want the content to deteriorate. You want to maintain the content so that the person can have it, say, within between 3 days to a week. And the potency. Right, and the potency remains. And so it is not deteriorated. The potency remains, and so you use what we call chew stick or pepper elder to allow for that process. All right, so we're giving a little secret of how the herbs work. Right? Yeah. All right, and so sometimes we want the fluid extract. So it is not just steeping or decoction. It is not just drawing it or boiling it.
Boiling it.
Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
want to extract the nutrients from the herbs, all right, without doing that, without going through that process. So we call it fluid extract. This is a tincture which may be as concentrated as a regular tincture, but may be much as 5 times more concentrated. One of the herbs that we love to do this with is one called leaf of life. We make sure we get the juice out of it instead of boiling. Another one is
Beat it.
right. You beat it to get it out, and there are various methods that you can use to do this. To get to extract the juice from that, and you do it with a number of other herbs as well. But again, it depends on the severity of the illness because it is for a particular illness that you're doing it for.
Yes.
And so whether or not you want it to be concentrated or not concentrated.
Yes.
So this is how you do it. And when it is done this way, you give the person like a teaspoon or half a teaspoon to drink as well because it is highly concentrated. Um, so so that one, I will tell you one of the herbs that men love to do this with. Um, Duppy gun root. We love to do this with Duppy gun root to get the juice out because that is what you want for a particular purpose, or for um broomweed root, because men would use this for purposes of strength, for so that they can get strength. That's all. All right, and then so we look at fluid extract, and so we also look now at concentrated herbs. Concentrated herbs. Now these are relatively new products on the market. Some herbs need to be taken in larger doses to be effective. Now, some herbs need to be taken in larger doses to be effective. For those who take many capsules of a herb daily, using concentrated herbs is a great help. All right, and so this is why you do that. The concentration is often 4 to 6 times that of the original herb. Concentrated herbs are taken one step further than herbal extract. They are freeze dried to remove moisture content. The result is a solvent free product, um, with no added alcohol. No added alcohol. Now this powder has all the nutrients in a form that will digest quickly into the bloodstream. They work quickly for the relief of pain. Notice they work quickly for the relief of pain. And so you do this for persons who are experiencing pain. All right. And also you capsules, the capsule or dry powder. All right. Now you dry the herbs. Dry herbs are powdered, then placed in a two-piece gelatin capsule. And these capsules that you put it in, it has to be plant-based. Must be plant-based.
Yes.
All right. And so you don't want any plastics or anything that will cause the person any harm. All right? It has to be plant-based. Um, so the capsules contain about 400 to 500 milligram, but this varies with the density of the herbs and whether the herb is a root or a leaf. All right, so as you see that a leaf is different from the root. All right, so if it is the root, is a different type of healing that you're looking for, and it is the root, is a different type of root that you are looking for.
Yes.
Yes. And so the capsule may sometimes be opened and emptied in the hot water for tea, and this can be made into a paste for poultices, tinctures, and decoctions, infusions, or just swallowed.
Yes.
If there is a problem swallowing the capsule, if there's a problem swallowing the capsule, they can be moistened by dipping them in water or a little vegetable oil. Or I would say the vegetable oil I'm thinking of is coconut oil. Right? in
or
Jamaica.
the olive oil,
Yeah,
because you can drink the
yeah,
olive
man.
oil.
Because I'm in Jamaica,
Coconut oil,
and
olive oil.
we normally don't have the
No
olive one.
vegetable
We have the
oil.
coconut one, so use the coconut one in Jamaica. Yeah. Um, the capsule should be stored in a cool, dry place so they do not acquire any moisture and become a little brittle. So you don't want them to become brittle and you don't want them to acquire moisture. Um, Also, excess heat and moisture will soften the capsules and they will stick together. Now, the advantages of capsule: is a capsule is ready for use, and strong acrid herbs like valerian root or wormwood are more pleasant to take. Wormwood, we call it in Jamaica whitehead. Capsules can also be inserted in the rectum easier than tablets because it is smooth. And uh, to treat. So if swallowed, you can take powder, not the steep or boiled liquid, and the powder in the capsules gradually ages. So you have to remember that the powder in the capsule gradually ages. It does not last forever. And so a major disadvantage is that many capsules are made from boiled tissues derived from slaughtered livestock. So only
That is
can
why,
right. So you
yeah,
make sure that the capsule is made from um, herbs,
yes.
plant-based capsules. All right,
Very important.
right. Now tablets. Debbie has made these tablets already, and we have done it, and it has been effective. And so you can also make the tablets from the herbs itself, and tablets are usually very good. So if it's a dry herb, you're using a dry herb plus an excipient, which is a binder or a carrier. Now, this is important. Whenever you are using a herb, you must always have a carrier so that it can go directly to your tissues. So this is what you want. All right. Now, the dry herb is pressed into a tablet shape. The tablet can be used in the same way as a capsule. All right. Now, the advantages: tablets do not tend to stick together and will resist a warmer climate better than the capsules. You can make the tablet yourself and know exactly what is in each one. Right? When you make it, you know exactly what you're taking.
Right,
And the
right.
disadvantages
And
is
it's not
that
hard to do.
no, you have made it. We have made it, so it is not hard.
To do. No.
Right. The disadvantages is that you do not know exactly what is in each one.
Yeah.
All right. So do not let your supply of herbal powder be too old, for it will be difficult to be dissolved in the stomach. All right. So don't let it become too old. Now, there are two ways to prepare your own tablets. Prepare an inexpensive tablet machine, but you don't have to use the machine.
Purchase that.
Yeah, you don't have to purchase that. There are other ways, and usually when the herbs are green, they tend to stick together when they use. And you can also use like the coconut oil with it, just a little bit of coconut oil so it can stick together. And once it sticks together, you put it to dry and so on, and you can get to use that.
Yes.
All
And
right.
they won't taste bad like those
No,
tablets that
no, they won't taste bad. And you know what you put
nobody
in there.
Yeah.
You know what is in there, and you know the purpose for which you are making that. This is so very important. Once you know the purpose for it, then you will know that you need to take this as
Yes.
well.
It is now a minute after 5 o'clock,
Wow.
and time is swiftly
Time is
running
simply running by.
by. Didn't even realize it was going so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
so we have been looking at the herbs, as we said, and now
Mm.
we're going to look at some important facts that we should take into consideration.
Right.
All right, we looked at storage and how we would store them, and remember that
Mhm.
we said that herbs are best stored in glass jars and they are not to be exposed to sunlight for long periods of time.
Right.
All right, now another thing that we have to take into consideration is the weight factor,
Yes.
right, of persons,
Of
of
course. Of
course.
course.
Yes,
Yes.
so um, Nebert mentioned in preparing the herbs,
Mhm.
if you want to do it more. thicker or
Yeah.
stronger,
Yes.
right? But we have to take into consideration
The weight.
the person's weight.
Right.
So larger persons
Mhm.
require larger amounts than smaller
Right.
or underweight individuals.
Right. It's just like when you're drinking water.
Right.
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 You use the divide the
That
weight
is
by
why you do
16.
your body
Your body mass index, but
index.
you
Right.
divide the weight by 16.
Mhm.
For water, you know how much water the person should drink.
Should drink per
Because
day.
not everybody should drink the same amount of water. Some drink
No.
more, some drink less.
Yes,
The
yes.
same is applicable to herbs.
Mhm.
Alright, so you must know the weight of the persons that you are dealing with. And so this is why you wouldn't it is not recommended that you make the herbs and have them for somebody to sell just like that without giving proper instructions.
Yes, and we have to look at gender as well because
Right.
men usually require larger amounts than
Right,
women,
right.
also with children.
That's right.
So that
That's
is
right.
very important
That's
too.
right.
And elderly persons.
That's right.
We hear the saying once a man, twice a child.
Exactly.
Which is true in
Yes.
across the board.
That is true.
Right. And we have to look at the climate too is also
Yes.
a factor because the medicinal effect of the herbs is intensified in
Mhm.
hot climates
Yes.
and therefore give less at such times.
Yes.
All right. So you don't when the time is hot,
Mhm.
the intensity of the herb is high.
Right.
So you can do less.
And that is Jamaica all the time.
That is Jamaica all the time.
Yes.
Right, because we don't want to
Yeah.
some persons take herbs and they react to it differently as
Right.
we share with you because
That's right.
people vary in their reactions.
Right.
Right. So some people are more intolerant to herbs than others are. And it is best to initially give a small dose
Right.
and see the reaction 1st.
Mhm.
And then it is always safe to start with the smaller like child's dose even
Yeah.
for an adult
Yeah.
so that you can watch
Right. You
and
can
then
gauge
you
it
can
properly.
build up
Yes.
to a larger dose if
Yes.
that seems
Right.
best.
Because what you want is to gauge it.
Right.
Make sure the person that overdosed
Right. You
or
can
underdosed.
or underdose.
Yes, underdosed.
Because then when
Yeah.
you watch and see how the reaction you
Right.
can build up slowly
Yes.
and you can increase it slowly as
Yeah.
well, remaining on each level for
Mhm.
2 to 3 days,
Mhm.
and then you observe if there is any unusual reaction.
Right.
Because some persons may be allergic to ragweed and they don't. Right. So
That's right.
give them a small dose
Yes.
and document it.
Mhm.
Journaling is very important. So
Very
you
important
want to
with
know
herbs.
what did I do yesterday
Yes.
so that I am reacting this way
You
today.
date every herb.
Yes.
Make a
Mhm.
date. Keep
Make
records.
sure what, especially
Yes.
if you are doing
Yes.
this for the first time,
Yes. Keep records.
write down what
Mhm.
herb did you take.
Right.
If there's a combination of herbs, state the herbs, state the time and the
That's
date
right.
that you took them and the
Yes.
amount that you took.
Yes.
So that you know that listen, if I take this amount
Yes.
today, I react this way. And if you
Yes.
take less tomorrow,
Right.
because you're still in the testing period,
Right.
it's either you have taken too much or too less.
Right.
All right. So you want to get that balance.
Yes.
So you have to see how you react
That's
to
right.
it.
Yes.
All right. So and the amounts for children, of course,
Mhm.
and there's a formula
Right.
that you can use.
Right.
On average, you can
Mhm.
use 150 because most
Mhm.
persons are
Yeah.
approximately.
Yes. 130
So
to 150.
the average
Mhm.
adult weight.
Mhm.
So you can use that and you divide that 150 by the child's actual weight.
Right.
And then, so if the child weighs 50 pounds, this is a third of the
Mhm.
average adult
Mhm.
weight for 150 pounds.
Yes.
So therefore, you only give him a third of the dose. Of the regular dose that the adult will take, you give the child a third of it.
Yeah.
All right. So it is important. It is work. It is very important though because you don't want to kill yourself, poison
Right.
yourself, overdose yourself,
That's
or
right.
underdose yourself.
That's right.
All
That's
right.
right.
And during pregnancy, also you have to take this into consideration.
Right.
When the person is pregnant.
Always
Because-
find out if the person is pregnant.
Exactly.
Yes.
Notice that when women go to the doctor, the first thing the doctor asks them,
Yes.
they
You're
do
pregnant.
a pregnancy test.
Yes.
And then they
Mhm.
ask you, when was your last period?
Right.
because and then they
Mm.
write these things down
Mhm.
because then they can start to do the
Mhm.
diagnosis properly. So you set the foundation first,
Mhm.
because if you are pregnant, you are treated differently if you are than when you are pregnant. If you are when you are not pregnant, I should say. All right. So it is important. This is one of the factors that you take into consideration when
Mhm.
you are um, administering herbs or
Right.
any form of medication.
Yeah.
All right, so women respond to herbs differently
Than
when
men.
they are pregnant
That's right.
and than men. And
Right.
at such times, it is
Yes.
best to give smaller
Yes.
herbal
Yes.
doses and observe the response.
Yes.
So
You have
you
a.
give the dose and you give
Yes.
it time to see
Mhm.
how the person responds. Because remember, now it's not she alone,
Right.
She has another human being
Yes.
growing
For
inside
pregnancy.
her,
Yes.
right? And then how that other human being react
Mhm.
to it too is very
Mhm.
important. All right,
Yes. Women's hormones are different from
are
men's,
different from men.
and body types. The body is made up a little bit differently, and
Yes.
so you apply it to women is different from how it will be applied to men.
And
Yes.
the hormones are heightened at that time as
Right.
well.
Mhm.
So sometimes mild and nutritive herbs are best
Mhm.
in this sense, in this situation when they are pregnant. Some herbs should not be given at all during
Definitely. So
pregnancy,
golden seal
including
and
diuretics and
right.
purgatives, or purgatives, those
Mhm.
that purge you,
Mhm.
and the um, emana, goggles.
Yes.
I can't call that word very well. Now, all of these are active in the
Mhm.
pelvic area
Right.
and should be avoided, because
Yes.
sometimes
That's where you get pregnant.
it might
Pelvic
um,
area. Yes.
mimic your labor,
Yes.
mimic the labor. So
Right.
sometimes you don't want to give women these kinds
Of course.
of
Of course.
herbs during
Yes.
pregnancy.
So you have to look for the friendly ones that can also do the work. It's
Yes.
friendly and mild
Yes.
that can also
And
do the
God
work.
provides them,
Of course,
God provides
because you
them.
notice that the herbs, um, there are herbs that are intensive and some that are
Mhm.
not intensive. Some are mild and some are not so mild, and
Yeah.
so I believe that God does this for a reason,
Mhm.
and so that you can apply it to a number of different individuals
Yes.
over a different period of time and so on, and the results will be exactly what you want it to be.
Yes.
So whether you are pregnant or you are having hormonal problems or so on, because some when you're applying the herb to correct the hormonal problem, then you work very closely with the person,
Mhm.
because you have to determine a number of things: your sleep pattern, your food, the food type of food that you eat,
Mhm.
and so on.
Yeah.
Many things you have to. So physical as well as mental issues have to be
Mhm.
taken into consideration to know how to apply the herbs.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
Yes.
And you know what he does too,
Mhm.
deliberately. Some of the herbs, most of the herbs, they don't just use for one thing.
No.
They use, so you might
Yes.
have one that used for this, two that use for the same
Hmm.
thing, but one is
Yes. Milder
milder,
than the other.
so
Yes.
we can use the
True.
alternative.
That is so true.
And speaking of milder, there are persons too that you have to look at. Some persons are more robust than others.
Hmm.
Some persons are what we call nervous people. Some
Yes.
people are frail.
Yes.
Some are more robust. So
Right.
for those persons, you would give them a smaller dose
That's right.
than those persons who are more robust and
Yes.
strong.
That is true.
So that has to be taken into
Hmm.
consideration.
That is so true.
Also, people with high blood pressure,
Hmm.
remember now, whatever we are going to be taken,
Hmm.
and this is why persons like Nebert that specialize in these things, he has to go through a interview process
Yes.
with the person.
Yes.
So
Yes.
as he's mentioned, your sleep pattern, your diet,
Hmm.
your health condition,
Yes.
that is very important,
Hmm.
because if you are taking over the counter
Hmm.
medications, and if you have this word that comes such alive in COVID-19 period, comorbidities.
Comorbidities.
Yes,
Yes.
if you have any underlying illnesses or
Yes.
anything like that,
Yes.
high blood pressure is
Yes.
one of them. because
Diabetes,
this is
yes.
called a silent killer,
Right.
because some persons don't know
That they have it.
that
Yes.
they have it,
Yes.
right? And then you may take some of the
Mhm.
herbs that kind of elevate this,
Exactly.
and then this can be
Right.
harmful. So these are some factors that we
Mhm.
really have to take into consideration.
Allergies and so on.
Now, these persons should
Mhm.
avoid herbs that stimulate the heart
Mhm.
or constrict the blood capillaries and arteries, like
That's
the
right.
licorice root
Yes.
and ephedra and
Mhm.
lily of the valley.
Mhm.
These are some of the herbs that you are to stay away from. But cayenne and garlic can be used in normal amounts, which
That's
do
right.
the same work as
Yes.
those do. All right,
Yes.
so we have to take that into consideration. And when herbs are combined as well,
Mhm.
we have to make sure that we know how to combine,
Mhm.
sorry, what herb to be combined with what
Right.
herb, right?
And you
Because
have to
if
know
it
why
is
you're
not
combining
done
them too.
properly,
Yes.
one herb may overpower or
Right.
neutralize the effects of the
Yes.
others, and you're wondering, so how is it that this worked for this and I'm not getting
Mhm.
better? You understand?
Yes.
How is it that I'm not getting better?
Right.
So we have to make sure that we take all of these into consideration. Also, laxative herbs
Yes.
is also important.
Yes. And
So
yes.
yes, so we need to make sure that we give slow acting
Mhm.
laxatives in the morning,
Mhm.
so as not to disturb our sleep. So if you are going to take laxative
Do
herbs,
it
it
in the
is
morning.
best you do it in the morning.
Yes.
If you take it in the afternoon or close to bedtime, you're going to be up
Of course.
and you're going to lose sleep,
Yes.
and you're going to further break down your
Yes.
system.
Yes.
All right. So yes, you were going to
No,
say.
I was saying the herb that you match,
Mhm.
you make sure that one does not overpower the other.
Yes.
A number of persons do this all the time. Some persons just love to put a lot of things together, and I don't know what gives, why persons love to do this.
We are
They just do
Jamaicans.
use
We
to
love
put
to
things.
overdo. We use a
Um,
big mug for tea.
yeah.
We use even the medication. We
Yes.
take more than the dose that we
Yeah.
are supposed to take
Yeah.
because we just want more of it.
If you are putting the herb together, make sure that you know why you're putting it together.
Mhm.
If this one lacks something,
Right.
then this is why you would add something that it does not have
Mhm.
when you put it together, so that you'll have something complete, because you must know how to treat the person,
Mhm.
why you would want to treat this person in this particular way. For example, you wouldn't mix chia seed and flaxseed together, all right, because omega-3, which
Even though some recipes call for it,
yeah.
but then you
So
you have to balance.
right,
You have to.
so
There's have to
depending on
be a
what,
balance.
if you want some omega-3 and putting these two together, then it makes no sense.
It makes no
Use
sense. You
one of
use
them,
one or the other.
because flaxseed has a stronger is stronger than
Omega
chia
three.
seed. So the flaxseed will overpower the chia
Omega
seed.
3.
So the chia seed will only go to full belly, but but it won't go to doing any kind of work whatsoever.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you just use flaxseed.
Mhm.
So this is why we say you know exactly why you are putting these things together, what this one lacks, or what is it that you're adding, so that you can enhance the strength of of this thing that you're giving to the person, and the strength of the decoction, the strength of the tincture, the strength of the fuel extract, the fluid extract, you or the strength of the concentrated herb, because you want to know exactly what you're doing,
Yes.
so that the person, when the person gets it, they get the maximum result from it.
Right.
You don't
Right.
want to give the person it and it does not work,
Yes.
and it causes more harm than good.
And
Right.
also not just the the amount that you put together, but the
Yes.
number of herbs that you put together.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, because some persons mix 6 and 7
Right.
herbs, and
Yeah.
it is not beneficial to
And
your
the
body.
quantity,
Right.
the amount. Know what you're doing.
Yes.
This is what we say.
Right.
Just know what you're doing. Understand what it is that you want to achieve.
Mhm.
Because when you do this, it is something that you want to achieve.
Right.
So know how to apply the herbs so that you can get maximum result.
Yes. And also we have to take into consideration those herbs that are sedatives and
Right.
antispasmodic.
Right.
So those antispasmodic and sedatives, we have to give them on an empty
Empty stomach.
stomach
Yes.
and give them closer to bedtime
Right.
because they are sedatives. And
Right.
you don't want to give the person when the person has to go to work. You're not going to function
No.
effectively.
Sedative like chamomile
Right.
and so on, and balsam
Mhm.
and so on. You will give it when they're going to bed,
Yes.
so that when they're sleeping, they have a nicer sleep. You know.
Right,
Yes.
because you have to give it on an empty stomach
Right.
too, because if your stomach is too full, they're going to
Right.
put you to sleep.
Right.
So it's not going to be
Mhm.
effective
Mhm.
at that time.
Yeah.
Astringents and minerals
Mhm.
also. Astringent herbs should not be taken at the same time as a nutritional
Right.
supplements
Right.
containing iron
Right.
with those that contain iron.
Yes.
Now the tannins in astringent herbs will leach calcium,
Mhm.
iron, and other important minerals out of the intestines. Therefore, only give astringent herbs for a short period of time.
And it's important to notice.
Yes, it's very
Important to
important.
notice. And when it's a short period of time, it should not pass 7 days.
Mhm.
It should not go to 5 days. You should know. This is why we say, why is it that you're giving the person the herbs, the reason, and why you're mixing it,
Yes.
so that when the person takes it in, the best result. 'Cause what they're looking for is the best result at all times.
Right. Also, blood purifying herbs.
Right.
Blood purifying herbs are to be taken on an empty stomach.
Always. Yes.
Always take it.
Mhm.
So if you're going through a blood purifying regime and you're going to take a bottle of herbs for that, you make sure that's the first thing you take in the mornings before you eat anything.
Yes.
It is always taken on an empty stomach.
Yes. Yes.
And strong bitter herbs now,
Mhm.
you have to avoid nausea, be sure to give enough water with them. All right, so even if you take it a tablespoon or a teaspoonful, make sure you have your water to drink right away. All right, that is very important. And some powerful herbs now. You have some herbs that are powerhouses. So what you do, make sure that in giving herbs which have powerful effects, we have to be careful. And these herbs include lobelia, juniper berries, black cohosh,
Yes.
pork root,
Mhm.
aconite, and shave grass or horsetail, they call it as well. So these are some powerful herbs, and we don't want to give these herbs um, too in too much doses or too often. So we have to be careful. All
Yeah.
right.
Because remember that whenever you are giving herbs, it is to help the person's body to heal. And the herbs assist the body to heal. The important thing is to achieve healing.
Yes.
So you would have to know how to administer it to achieve the maximum result.
Right.
All right. And so you wouldn't give somebody something to drink that you don't know about.
Yes.
So that you yourself don't know anything about it.
Yes.
Make sure that you have a proper knowledge before you give it to somebody else. Because what you're doing is that, remember, this is the life of an individual, and you wouldn't want to contribute to anything that will assist in the further deterioration of the person's health. Right?
All right. So there are some principles that we have to also keep in mind. For slow, gradual general effect, give herbs in small quantities of syrup or milk, and we know plant-based milk in between meals, especially for children and elderly. Now, this if we do this, this will retard the absorption. So it is best that we give water instead of syrup, those thick things.
Yes.
All right, with milk. And then sometimes the child, because of the taste, we want to give the child something sweet and all of that. Maybe some honey or some agave or something, but these are syrupy, and these will retard the absorption of the herb. So we
Yes.
don't want to give these things. It's best we take medication, any form of medication, with water, right? Clean, pure water. All right. So to avoid the appetite, to aid the appetite, to help the appetite, increase the digestive secretions, or for a local effect on the stomach or intestines, give herbs before meals.
Yes.
So give the herbs in acacia gum or olive oil for a localized effect on the stomach or in the intestines.
Yes.
So you don't want it to be too harsh on your stomach,
Right.
and all of that.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So some persons, to reduce the irritation of certain herbs, we give them in some sort of syrup,
Right. Yeah.
and some milk,
Yes.
soy milk, plant-based milk.
Yes.
Right. So because sometimes it can be harsh on your stomach. Like
Yeah.
for example, some persons, um, garlic can be harsh for some persons. So you can take that in a spoonful of syrup, agave or honey if you take honey, and so on. All right. So to increase absorption of the herbs and produce a more rapid effect, give them 1 to 2 hours after a meal. All right. And some herbs, especially those blood cleansing, blood purifying herbs, are best taken 1 to 2 hours before a meal. To reduce the bitter taste of herbs without reducing the bitterness,
Yeah.
take the dose in a large quantity of fluid, syrup, or honey. The bitter taste is often necessary for the proper effect to take place. So we don't want to neutralize that, but we just want to make it a little more pleasant for you.
Yeah.
But the bitterness can be disguised, right, to the taste buds. So you, in order for you not to be scared to take it or to avoid taking it.
As a rule, bitter in the mouth and sweet to the
Sweet to the
belly.
belly. Oh yes,
Because
yes.
your liver and your kidney will
Will
love you
I
for
love
that.
it, right? Fluids which do not taste good can be taken more easily by drinking them cold. And yes, I can attest to that. It's best that you drink them cold. When I'm drinking some of those herbs, I put them in the refrigerator, maybe about 10 minutes or so before I drink it. I just pour it in my shot glass, and then um, keep it out a little, and then I drink it. It's best if it is cold. If it is hot, you don't want to take it at all. But then when you think of the health benefits, though, you just take it down. But I personally, and it is proven, it is advised that if you, some of them are so bitter or they don't taste good, not necessarily bitter, but some of them don't have a pleasant taste. But it's best if you take it cold. So it's like you're drinking some lemonade without sugar, or something. You just drink it cold because it goes down better. All right. So and then you can drink some plain water afterwards.
And
Take the
remember
taste
though,
away quickly.
yes, and remember, um, you want to do this in an emergency situation. Only cool because remember your body produces a hormone that your body has to deal with.
Yes, so
Right,
that
and
is
so you
why
have
you
to be
let it
careful.
you
Room
take it
temperature.
out for a little, so
Yes.
and let it sit a little while.
Yes.
All right.
Pink, good to have you on. Good to have
Hi,
you. Good to
greetings,
see you.
greetings,
Yeah.
greetings.
Yeah.
Yes, and another thing that we have to take into consideration is our weekly rest. And we have a weekly rest day. So, in order for herbs to work best, they should not be one day each week. Then they should not be taken one day each week.
Right.
Then, after 2 to 3 weeks of treatment, no herb should be taken for 3 days in a row. So you have a rest time. So you have to make the herb work. All right. During this rest period, observe the patient or the person taking the herb. If the person's energy remains low during that time, if or if the symptoms worsen at the end of the rest period, so you have to put the person back on the herb dosage. If the person improves during the rest period, then extend the rest period a day or so, and then continue the treatment with smaller doses than you were given before.
Right.
If the person seems to completely recover during the rest period, then the treatment can be changed to something more like a tonic. So you would give the person a tonic, herbal tonic, so to help to strengthen the person and
Right.
take a nutritive approach.
Right.
So new symptoms, or so if new symptoms or
I just want to say a little bit on the rest day.
Mhm.
Um, you give herb in a cycle.
Right.
You develop a particular type of cycle.
Yes.
Because you want your body to become accustomed to taking it at a certain time. Um, the rest period must coincide with the rest period that God has in His words. When you give when you are administering herbs, it is the Bible says 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maid servant, and so. And so when you are doing that, and you follow the pattern that God has given, you find that you will get the best result, the very best result, because once God sanctions it, once God has given you the go ahead to do it, it means that He is willing and He is able to provide the do a way so that you can be healed. So He's willing to provide healing, and you must be in a position where always ask the Lord for help. He provides the herb, He provides the nutrients, He provides the minerals in it for it to work, but it cannot work without God saying it should work. Yeah. And so for every time you administer herb with the person, then both of you, if you are giving it to somebody all the time, both of you should pray. If you're doing it by yourself, make sure that you pray to the Lord and ask Him to help so that this thing can cause your body to be well again.
Yes. And the rest period is very important too, because sometimes we are so taken up with giving the herbs and treating the symptoms that are there,
Yes.
that we don't look at what is happening otherwise.
Right.
So sometimes during the rest period, new symptoms or problems may reveal themselves during this time. And if so, an herb formula or new therapy should be instituted to meet it. So sometimes the the person is not getting better, the person is developing new symptoms.
Yes.
So we need to, pause, put that aside for a little bit, and treat with the new ones.
Yes.
So because sometimes those are fine, but new things are developing.
Yes.
If the person seems to get stronger during each rest period, begin reducing therapy and extending the rest period, so that if there's anything, sometimes the person just need now more rest,
Right,
in order to get stronger. Right. So sometimes, that is what we need to do. And then there are some teas too, some types of teas that we have to take into considerations. So when bitter teas are taken, they have a tonic effect on digestion and related organs. A cool infusion or decoction is used for tonic effects. So hot teas are used during for sweating therapy. So you want to, persons are having flu-like symptoms and so on, then you use a hot tea so that you can get sweat therapy. Yes. They can sweat.
Mm-hmm.
Warm teas will create a feeling of
Right.
relaxation. Some
Right.
persons are agitated and
Mm-hmm.
they are fatigued and so on. So
Mm-hmm.
you want the persons to relax and be in a calm state so
Mm-hmm.
that they can be treated.
Mm-hmm.
So you use these as well.
Yeah.
And then the types of herbs too are
Mm-hmm.
very important, flowers and leaves. So being more delicate are usually made into infusions.
Mm-hmm.
So these are usually used for that, for teas. A decoction is used when trying to extract healing properties from most roots,
Mm-hmm.
barks, twigs, and seeds.
Yes.
So you have to know the how
What
to
they're
use the
doing.
herbs.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
the preparation of the herbs.
Mm-hmm.
When do you prepare it? By tincture, decoction, or and so on, infusion and so on. Determining the dosage now is the is also important because you have to study the suggested dosage for each herb. So, and then if you are mixing the herbs, then now you have to take that into consideration. All right. So consider whether the disease is chronic or acute.
The stage. Yes.
Right, the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the patient is a child or an
Yes.
adult,
Yes.
or whether he is strong
Yes.
or weak.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a female, whether or
Mm-hmm.
not she's pregnant,
Right.
perhaps lactation or menstruation is
Yes.
present.
Yes.
Consider the age,
Mm-hmm.
the temperament,
Mm-hmm.
the sex, and
Mm-hmm.
size of the individual.
Mm-hmm.
These are very important.
Extremely important. Yes.
And it it is always safer to start with a smaller dose. And if that works well, then you increase it slowly and go back to the normal dosage. Now, if a child will take the herb, give him only part of that which an adult would receive.
Yes.
All right. So remember, we did the
Mm-hmm.
that formula, the 150 pounds
Mm-hmm.
average adult weight to the
Yes.
child's weight, and then that would come out to a third of the
Mm-hmm.
of the adult dosage. All right. So herbs for children, we only give them mild herbs. All right. And adults who are experiencing an acute ailment, not harsh laxatives and strong cleansing herbs. We don't give them that. We give them mild herbs, can be taken in large amounts, usually a cup, maybe a cup of tea for per dose. All right. So that is what we are. We those are the things that we take into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the applications of herbs as well. Either we are going to do fermentation, we're going to do a poultice, or we're going to make the oils,
Mm-hmm.
or we are going to do douches, or we are going to do bolus. All right, so these are some of the things that we take into consideration. So for fermentation, so these are cotton towels. You can use cotton towels soaked in a herbal tea infusion. So you're going to do an infusion, boil it or steep it, and then you are going to place them in it, and then you're going to place it on the body part, the affected body part. Now this stimulates blood and lymph circulation.
Mm-hmm.
It warms the joints and other body parts, and it reduces internal inflammations and relieves colic and pain. And this works, listeners, viewers. I tell you, this works. Blessings, Septon. Nice to have you on. Yes, this really works. I remember a few months ago when I had a fractured bone, and my leg was so inflamed, and this was one of the things that we used. We soaked the towel in
Mm-hmm.
the mixture
Mm-hmm.
and put it on the area as hot as you can take it, and it helps the circulation because it was so painful. And then after a while, you feel the pain gradually, going away. So what we can also do is alternate hot and cold fermentations.
Mm-hmm.
Healing blood moves from more rapidly by doing this into and out of the affected area. So this is especially helpful for sluggish circulation, constipation, urine retention, etc. After soaking it in the herbal tea, fold and wring the hot towel slightly and place it on the affected area. Over that place or layer of, you can, over that place you can place a layer of plastic on it to, to
Mm-hmm.
keep it, the moisture in, and you can keep the heat in. Place a dry towel over all of that, by, and or you can use a heating pad on the, on top of it. And then what you do, you resaturate the hot
Mm-hmm.
towel, the soap towel, resaturate it so that it keeps that heat in,
Inside.
so that the blood
Mm-hmm.
can move, the healing blood can move, and then the pain will thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, good afternoon, Sherbian. Yes, we understand. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. And then now, another type of herbal application is the poultice.
Right.
The poultice, Nebert. Right. So the
So the poultice. This is
mhm,
a small pile of powdered or pulverized herbs,
mhm,
moistened, preferably with water, and in some instances with oil, and our tinctures, infusion, decoctions, salve, oils, etc., and applied to the surface of the skin. Now,
mhm,
poultice are usually applied to the surface of the skin.
mhm,
All right. Now fresh herbs can be applied without moistening.
mhm.
Uh, if there will be a body movement, wrap a cloth around the poultice to hold it in place, perhaps taping it slightly uh, around the affected area.
Right.
All
Mhm,
right. Now poultices are used to reduce inflammation
mhm,
and to withdraw pus and embedded particles.
mhm,
Now, ginger and cayenne increase circulation. Echinacea and garlic reduce infectious sores.
mhm.
Valerian and kava kava reduce pain. Lobelia tinctures added to a poultice will reduce pain very, very well. Clay poultice with or without herbs may um, made into a thick, doggy consistency.
Joy.
Yes, doughy consistency are good at drawing out poisons. Mashed cabbage leaves and the sorry, mix.
Mixed with powdered cayenne,
Yes.
or ginger.
Hmm.
Mhm. These are good for painful arthritic joints, and these are good to treat those.
Yes.
All right.
And so there are some others that we know,
Yes.
like when you are young and you step on a nail,
Mhm.
and your mother would do the banana. I either grate the
Scrape the
banana, scrape the
banana.
banana, or pound it into
Yeah.
a poultice with kerosene oil. All
Mhm.
right. After this pounded, put kerosene oil, and they put it in the piece of cloth and put it on the affected area and light it.
You actually feel that
Yeah,
pulling.
you light
Yes.
it, you feel it coming out.
Yes.
Or some, and that's not the only thing. If you have a cold and it is hard and you can't get rid of it, use what we call civil orange with
So orange.
yeah, we call it sour orange, civil orange. To we use that, we warm that, and we use the pulp out of it, and we put a little honey in it, and we drink it. All right, and it gets rid
Right
of
off that cold.
right, and it
Comes
gets rid
right
of that
out.
cold.
Mm-hmm.
And so the poultice that you use can be extremely helpful,
Yes, the type of
extremely helpful,
poultice.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now salves. Let's look at salves. So the poultice, we look at fermentation, look at salves. Salves are used to treat boils and dry and itchy skin. Now, this we can tell you about. When we were young, we there was a period in Jamaica's history where almost everybody would have a boil. All right, and so you salve are used to treat boils and or used for dry itchy skins. Astringent herbs like white oak bark, bayberry, these tone the skin. And so if you're looking for a toner for the skin, you can use this to accomplish that as well. All right, and uh, derm uh, demulcent, then emulsient herbs like comfrey, soften and keep the surface moist and healthy looking. And so we can testify to that because we have used comfrey a lot. Now we use it in various ways because when Debbie's leg was broken, when she had a fracture, we used comfrey a lot to ensure that he got better. And so this was one of the things that we sometimes we use it as a salve, sometimes we just use the leaf to work on the area. But comfort is excellent for that. Excellent, excellent, excellent for that as well. Um, Cells are of a thick consistency of it is of a thick consistency. And when you put the oils with it, the oils with the herbs and so on, especially the mineral oils, you use that to cover the area, and it stays on it. But make sure that when you put it at a certain temperature, between like 125 to 200, do that only for 2 to 4 hours. All right, if you exceed, if you go below that, then it means you might not get the type of result that you wanted to use it for. Beeswax, when you're using beeswax, about 1.5 ounce to 1 pint of oil, and stir it into the oil. So you stir the beeswax into the oil. Preserve the salve by adding 1/2 teaspoon vitamin E per cup of solution to 1 ounce of salve. Right. And for oils are used to, because we also used a lot of oils when we had the when we had the fracture as well. It is important to know how to mix the oils and the type of oils that you can use. And we are not talking about oils that women use.
Not at all.
We are talking about peppermint oil, and we are talking about um, orange oil and tea tree oil,
Yes.
oregano, and these
Good
type of oil,
olive oil and
good
castor
olive oil and
oil.
castor oil.
Yes.
These are important oils that we should know and to know how to apply. Coconut oil is excellent, 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 excellent. You should know how to use this to apply to the affected area. All right.
It's important because if you use those drop top
Yes,
bottles,
yes.
you have to put the amount of drops in.
Right.
The amount of drops. Some of them require 30 drops,
Yeah.
some 10 drops, some 15 drops, and you have to mix it accordingly so that you can get the best out of it.
Right.
It's not just pouring oils together.
No, you have to know the amount of
do-
drops to
Measurement
use.
is very
Yes,
important.
very, very important to know, because once you use the oil, you want to get the best results.
Yes.
So oils are usually made from mints and aromatic herbs, and are applied to increase circulation and warmth to the area and treat skin disease and painful joints.
Yes.
Right? They are also used when giving massage for dry skin. These are to be rubbed on the surface of the skin before a poultice or hot pack or fermentation is applied. Now, this we learned that before you put the poultice on, you have to ensure that the area is you use oil on it before it's
So
moist,
it's protected
so
because
that the area is protected.
sometimes the poultices can be harsh on the
Right,
skin. So you
right.
use the oil
To
as
protect
a
the area.
as a
Right.
protection to from the poultice. But
Exactly.
because it infuses in the oil,
Yes.
though, it still has that healing effect
Right,
that you
right,
want.
right,
Yes.
right. So here's something you can do. Add 1 ounce of olive oil to
Mhm.
2 ounces of macerated herbs. Mix carefully and bake in the oven for what at 115 degrees to 200 until the herbs become crisp, about 2 to 4 hours. When that happens, the oils have left the herbs and entered the olive oil. Strain out the herbal oil. Add it to the oil from the 400 IU vitamin E capsule to every cup of herbal oil as a preservative. Put the oil in a dark bottle. Olive oil usually has a long shelf life before it goes rancid.
Mhm.
And so this is a way of making oil, herbal oil. Another way that you can do it, for example, if you are making say garlic oil,
Yes.
no, you get the small bottle, you put the garlic in the bottle, fill it with garlic, and then you probably use coconut oil and pour it onto it, and then you cover it tightly, and then you bring some water to boil, and then you put it in and let this stay in there, boil there for about between 3 to 5 minutes, and then you take it out and you put it in
Dark
a
place.
dark, cool place, and you let it stay there for about a week or two, and then you'll have
Yes.
that oil that you can
7
use,
to 14 days.
right?
Yeah.
And it can be
One
used
week,
for a
2 weeks.
number of things,
Mhm.
a number of important things it can be used for.
Mhm.
Um, when you feel as though you are going to fall down, and, and you pour 1 or 2 drops in in right and left ears, then it will help you to maintain your balance. Right?
Vertigo for
Vertigo,
vertigo. Yes.
for vertigo.
Mhm. And it can be used in your hair. It strengthens your hair
Exactly.
follicles.
It
Yes.
strengthens your hair root,
Your hair
and it is
root.
so
Yes.
so so very good.
Mhm.
And it helps your hair to grow as well. All right.
And you can rub it on your feet as well, on
Yes.
your nails as well. It's very
Right.
yes. It
Extremely good.
strengthens your nails.
Yes.
Yes.
Certain oils will be absorbed by the skin faster than others.
Yes.
Right? And
Mhm.
we have noticed that as well. And when you want the oil to remain on the skin for a long period to help heal external sores,
Hmm.
etc., use olive oil or peanut oil or avocado um, oils. Um, wheat germ, sesame, and sunflower oil absorb much faster.
Yes.
Alright. Now,
Mhm.
essential herb oils can also be purchased at a health food store, or you can just make it yourself. You can learn how to make the oils yourself.
Mhm.
So because once you make it yourself, then you know exactly what is in it, and it will you find that you will more readily use it too, that
Mhm.
because you contributed to this thing, and you know the effect that it will have on you as well. Our douches, now these are used to treat vaginal infections and excessive secretions. Right, they are prepared by making a strong infusion or decoction using herbs such as golden seal, myrrh, cyprium, English plantain, and if there are excessive secretions or bleeding, white oak bark. 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar should be added to 1 quart. Um, that's the 1 quart tea to help maintain an acid pH. While the tea is warm, carefully insert the douche, retain for 3 to 5 minutes, and use once daily for 5 to 7 days, and only during the infection. So you only use it during the infection. Therefore, only use once a month. Pregnant women should not use douches. Um, let me also say though that if you have a cyst, an ovarian cyst,
Mhm.
say you have an ovarian cyst, or any type of cyst in the fallopian tube area, that type of thing. And you could put on water to boil. Let the water boil for say 5 to 10 minutes. Let it boil, and then you would um, tip just a little bit of peppermint, just a little bit, or you can use the French thyme in it, right? And you stoop over it.
1 drop of peppermint oil.
One drop, just
One drop.
one drop. If you can do half a drop, it would be good. But one drop.
And trust
Yeah.
me, you have to be precise with
Yes, you
that
have to be precise with it.
because
Or
it
if you
burns.
cannot be precise, don't use it any at all. Better use the French thyme.
Yes.
Or you can use the balsam plant, all right, and you stoop over that for as long as you're able to take it. And what you will find is that after about a week the most, then your cyst will fall off. All right, and it works almost every time, every time. All right, and so it is important that you follow these because these are ways that you can help yourself and using herbs instead of running to the doctor that prescribes drugs, because when the doctor gives you the drugs, then these are drugs and the side effects are terrible.
Yes,
Yes.
and many.
Yes, they are terrible, and they're always side effects.
Yes.
All these side effects.
Mhm.
All right, thank you, Sherbian, for joining. I know that you are involved in funerals and so on. My condolences to you and family. Thank you for joining. I'm Shashina Burton. Would like to make an appointment to start treatment. Where
She said where she is, she can't find the herbs
they
that
can't
she
find the
needs.
herbs she needs.
Yes.
Oh my! Speak to Debbie.
Okay, so we can talk about that,
Yes.
Sister Byfield. Yes.
Yes,
So
bolus. Look at bolus because it's
right.
important though.
Yes.
The bolus. This is a
Suppository.
all right, a
Insert.
suppository inserted into the rectum or vagina to draw out toxins and treat swelling and treat swellings, um, infection like cysts and tumors and inflammation, and her hemorrhoids. For vaginal infection, boluses are usually used when douches are not successful. All right. Now the herbs used in boluses are astringents like white oak bark, bayberry, and witch hazel. Uh, it is important that you know how these are applied, because sometimes the illnesses are so devastating Debbie, that um, it is difficult, and for each person you have to tailor it to suit the person's need. And so many times it is not a one size fit all.
All right.
All right, so this is why you have the private conversation with the person to determine exactly how you can apply it, because what you want is the maximum result for this individual. And so you would know how to do it based on the needs of the person.
Yes. Mhm. Right.
Uh,
There are some useful poultices
yeah,
that I want to share with you. We don't have a lot of time,
yeah,
but I'll just go through maybe about 3 or 4 of them
yes,
before our time expires here. But they are very useful and they are very important.
yes,
All right. So one of the poultices that we can look at is the cabbage poultice.
yes,
Now, what you're going to do, you're going to pulverize the leaves and lay it on the skin, the affected area.
yes,
This will draw out poisons and
Mhm.
also pus
Right,
from the area. Now, when it feels hot, replace it with a fresh one. Now,
Mhm.
imagine this, pulverizing the cabbage leaves, all right, and putting it on the area. And then you will know that it is working when it becomes hot
right,
or it has done its work.
yes,
All right. So then you're going to remove that one and then you're going to replace it with a fresh one.
right,
Another way to prepare the cabbage, you can wash a leaf, you can lay
Mhm.
it flat on
yes,
a breadboard or so, and you
Yes.
can roll it with a
Right.
rolling pin
Yeah.
to break the ridges,
Yes.
and then or the veins, and then you can attach it to maybe the sore,
Mm.
or if you have a cut or so,
Right.
and that will help to pull out whatever.
And this is just plain cabbage leaf. You
Plain
can go to
cabbage
the shop
leaf.
and buy this
You
one.
notice you don't
Yeah.
have to put anything with it.
Exactly. It's just cabbage leaves.
Yes, just cabbage leaves. Also, we can make a garlic poultice.
Right.
So you can crush fresh garlic and
Mhm.
add warm water
Yes.
and flour
Yes.
to it.
Yes.
Then you can, what it used to do is it relieves pain, and it also pulls pus
Yes.
and infection from
Yes.
the area.
Yes.
So you can try this as well. And
Yeah,
these,
man. If you
and
have a
these are
boil,
simple poultices,
right. That's
right?
sometimes
You
you have
have a
a boil
boil,
or a
put
sore.
it on
So
it,
you can
yes,
put it on it.
or
Yes.
a blister
Or a
as
blister.
well.
Yes. Put it
A
on it.
blister.
Mhm.
It works. It
Yes.
works. All right. There is another one. The potato
Yes.
poultice.
No, this one works very well.
Yes. So you
Mhm.
can place the grated raw potato
Mhm.
on bruises, on sprains, and on boils, and
Yes.
so on. And this helps to pull whatever is there,
Yes.
and then sooner
Yes.
it will
The
start
arrow
to
will be sweet.
dry.
Yes.
Yes, start drying up.
Mhm.
Also, a carrot poultice. You're going to take the pulp.
Mhm.
This is going to this is the remaining part after juicing the carrots, or
Mhm.
finally grating the carrots,
Yes.
and place it on the bruises,
Mhm.
on sores, on chapped skin, or
Mhm.
for some ladies who have tender nipples and
Yes.
sore nipples,
Yes.
they can put it on the nipples as well.
Yes.
Carrot.
I noticed
Carrot.
that these are foods that you eat.
Yes.
These are
These are
foods that are
foods that you eat.
readily available in your pantry.
Yes.
That you can just go in your pantry and find these
Yes.
in your kitchen,
Yes.
and you can take care of yourself.
Yes. And before we go, I definitely want to tell you the comfort. The comfort
Yes.
really, really
Comfort
works.
poultice, yes.
Yes. I am a champion for comfort.
Comfort, yes.
So you're going to mash the leaves,
Mm-hmm.
then moisten them with comfort tea. So you're
Mhm.
going to do the infusion,
Right.
and then you're going to save that tea. Then you're going to get some fresh leaves. You're going to mash those,
Yes.
and then you put it together with the leaves. Just
Mhm.
moisten it. Just give it
Mhm.
a little moisture with
Yes.
the tea.
Yes.
It is good for open sores,
Mhm.
for wounds,
Right.
and for
For
swellings,
swellings, yes.
and for fractures.
Right.
It is good for fractures.
Right.
It works.
Excellent for that.
Excellent.
Excellent
Yes.
for that.
So
When you have a broken limb, you don't have to run off to the doctor. There are ways that you can do it with herbs,
yes.
and we have done it, so we understand how it can be done. We
Yes.
know that God provides the avenue where this can be done.
Yes, definitely so.
Mm.
So it was really good being here and sharing this information with you. When we come back, I'm going to be continuing with the
Yes.
poultices, because
Yes.
we have quite a few of them,
Right.
and we have just shared 5
Yes. Figs,
with
flaxseed, ginger, hops, oatmeal, onions, plantain, English plantain,
Yes.
potato and flaxseed,
Mhm.
and rice and sage and cypre elm and salt and tofu. Is that it's called tofu poultice?
Yes.
Yes, all of these we
Yes.
we will tell you about these next
Yes,
time.
when we come back,
Yeah, when we return.
next Sunday, God
Alright.
is willing.
Yes.
It was really nice being with you. Thank all of you who joined us on YouTube, and I hope that the information was useful, and that you can use it and share it with others. And I pray that you will, be obedient to God's words and allow Him to work in and through us. And let us use the things, the natural things that He has said we ought to use. He has
Yes.
said in His word, 3 John 1 and 2, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayst prosper and be in health, even
Yes.
as thy soul prospereth.
Yes.
It's goodbye from Nature's Way, and I'm going to ask Nebert to pray
Sure.
to take us out.
All right, let's go ahead as we pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, we thank you for your blessings. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to share with your people. We pray that something would have been said today that would have allowed some persons to know of how good you are at healing, and what a wonderful and good Savior you are to take care of your children. And so we pray that as we practice these things, we will understand that you really would like to heal us spiritually as well as physically and also mentally, and that if once we put ourselves into your hands, you will do with us as you see fit. Thank you for the opportunity that you have given to us to be able to work in this regard with you. And we pray that your people will be blessed and be led to a place where they will serve you in spirit and in truth. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Let us put our houses in order and prepare for the second coming of
That's
our soon coming King.
Amen.
Have a good week.
Amen. I am the God that healeth.